Hey guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to make a logo just like this using Adobe Illustrator. Let's get started. The logo I'm making today is an airline logo called Wingtop Worldwide. It's a company name I just made up for the sake of the tutorial, but you can make up any name you want just for practice. It really helps. Once you have the name of your company down, you can just start making ideas for it on pen and paper. I'm going to be using a drawing tablet for this example, but you can just scan anything you need to into your computer. We just need to get into Illustrator later. I'm going to be using the keywords found in this company name, Wingtop and Worldwide. Your client could give you other things in relation to the logo, but I am going to be using these words because they all relate to airlines and stuff. It'll be easy for me to make something good. But yeah, get as many ideas as you can out of your head. And the more ideas you have, the better, and your client will like that too. In this example, I end up getting the idea pretty quickly. So if you have something that you are completely okay with, then copy and paste it into Illustrator. Alright, once you have your logo here in Illustrator, your sketch should show up as this block here. We're going to want to have that as our own stencil for the logo that we're going to be making. So we're going to set the opacity down to 50. And we're going to hit Ctrl 2 to lock it in place. Now we can't interact with it. We're going to start putting some text on here by filling in the words that we need. I'm going to use, let's use Futura Bold for top. Set the points to 250 for size. And we'll set the spacing to 200 so it matches up with our sketch that we made. Now let's get Wing and Worldwide in there as well. I'm going to set Wing to the same font, but I'm going to lower the size to 100. I'm going to have Worldwide at the same size, but I'm going to lower the size of it, the size of the font to medium. That will create some good spacing, that will get rid of any spacing issues we'd have with having all of them the same boldness of font. Having longer words have thinner font looks better when it's at the bottom. So we're going to want to get Worldwide and Wing out of the way here, because we're going to be working on top. We want to remove this top part of the T to put in our wings here that are in our sketch. And we can't do that now that as a type object. We can only interact with it for font and stuff. So we're going to highlight it, go up to Type, Create Outlines. Now we can interact with any vectors that it's created for us. So we're going to zoom in on T here. We're going to highlight the word and hit Ctrl-Shift-G to ungroup it, so our letters are now independent from each other. I'm going to go to our rectangle tool, highlight the top of the T, and then select both, and use our shape builder tool to remove it by holding Alt. Okay, now let's move our word out of the way a little bit, and we're going to make a wing here. I'm going to just make one of the wings and then copy and paste it over and flip it so that it's perfectly symmetrical. We're going to go to our rectangle tool and make a perfect square at the top left of our wing by holding Shift while you're dragging. Now we're going to grab our square and hold Alt and bring it down to the very corner and snap it in place. Make sure that your smart guides are on for this. It's always good to have smart guides on. Now click and drag with Alt again to do the same thing to make 3 squares, perfectly corner to corner. Now if it goes past like your wing a little bit, you can shrink it down by highlighting them all, holding Shift, perfectly shrinking it down so it matches up with the bottom. We're going to take our pen tool, hit the very top corner of this, bring it over to the edge here. We're going to start making our shape going around here, but first let me get rid of the fill on our line, and let's set the stroke on it to a black color at about 6. Okay, now continue with your line here. Hold shift if you want to keep this anchor at perfect angles here so you can get a good curve. Now you can deselect your, if you want to have a perfect point at the end here, you can deselect your whole line by hitting escape and then hold shift and click the end of it, and then you can have a perfect straight line going across here. Your corner might not show up properly because sometimes the anchors do not allow for it to form. See, when I brought up the anchor here by using my direct selection tool, it created that angle there. Sometimes it just gets rid of it if the angle is too sharp. But now our curve here is a little wonky looking, so we're going to go to our smooth tool and smooth out this vector a little bit. See, that looks really good. I'm going to bring in the corner just a little bit. There we go. Okay, now you can highlight your 3 squares here. Get rid of the fill on that and make it match your lines by setting the stroke to 6 as well. Highlight everything, use your shape builder tool, and fill it all in to make one solid shape. Now last thing we're going to do is go to our pen tool one more time and hold shift and hit the inner corners of this and make some perfect lines going about halfway through your wing. These will create a feathered look. Okay, now we're going to highlight all of it. And actually we're going to go to our corners here, use our direct selection tool, hold shift, select all 3 of these outer corners, and hit these little blue circles here. They should all curve at the same time, and make sure you bring it in until it turns red like that. That's the limit of how far you can drag it to make the curve. We have a good feather effect going on here now. So we're going to highlight everything, and we're going to go up to Object, Path, and Outline Stroke. Go to your Shape Builder tool again, and since these were separate shapes that we created, we want to fill these in and make it one solid thing. Okay, now go to your Direct Selection tool again, and select these little inner corners here. And we're going to drag those down like we did with the outer part. This will create a really good theme to these curves to make it all look like it's they're all part of the feathers. Now our wing is done here, so we can highlight it, hold Alt, and drag it over. Make sure it's lined up, and under your properties, you can flip it horizontally. And there you go, a set of really good wings. Now we can bring our word top back here and make sure it's lined up properly. We want our wings to line up with the center of our T. And then what happened here is that I didn't make the bottom of the T short enough, so the wings are kind of over top of the whole word. Let's have it line up with the top of the P. With our ruler up here, if your ruler isn't enabled, you can hit Control R. You can drag a ruler down and create a path from the very top of your P. With that there, we can highlight our wings and drag it down to match up with that guide that we made. Make sure it's also matched up with the center of our T. Once you're done with that, you can drag it back up off screen, and your ruler will be gone once it's up off screen again. Now, since it's a little shorter, we're going to lower the height of this part of the T. And there we go. Now the next thing I want to add is a curve going from the bottom of our wings around the O. We want to have stuff that matches like the aesthetic of the words that we're having in our logo. I've already made a symbol for our wing. I want to make a symbol for worldwide. This will make it look like our wings are flying around the earth and it's in a worldwide airline. So we can get our sketch out of the way at this point. So what you can do is hit Control-Alt-2 and it will unlock anything you've locked. So we can just move that off screen. Now let's go to our pen tool and click from the center right in between the wings and the bottom of the T, this little empty space, and make a curve, clicking and dragging about right here. Then you can kind of hook it there with that anchor that we made. Now let's set the fill to 0 and set the stroke to about 8. We'll increase the size of that in a minute, but first let's adjust the way our hook looks to make it really look like it's going around the planet. Alright, that's pretty good. Now what we want to do is select our stroke that we just made, and under our stroke properties, go down to profile and change it from uniform to this pointed one to make it look like it's an actual like pen stroke or stroke of wind coming by as like a little trail. Now this looks good on its own, but it kind of gets lost if it's the same color as our O here. We don't know like where this is going. We don't know if it's going in between like the O or behind it. So we're going to take our stroke here, and once let's increase the size of it to about 15. 16 is good. And once you're completely happy with it, go up to Object, Path, and Outline Stroke. Once you're at this point, you can't really edit the size of the stroke anymore because it's very hard with all these points. We're going to go up to Stroke, give it a white stroke, and set it to about 6. At this point, you'll see that our stroke has leaked onto the inside and shrunken our stroke a bit that we made. But we can fix that by going back to our stroke window that we still have up here and going to Align Stroke to Outside. This will make it so it's an actual border to our entire stroke. Now we're going to select it again and go to Object, Path, and Outline Stroke one more time. That will outline the new white stroke that we made. A lot of strokes going on. And we can highlight the O and our strokes, and get our Shape Builder tool and just remove any white that we've created. Fill in this too, since we create 2 separate shapes. You can deselect it, and if you have any white left over, I thought I saw some white over here, guess not. But if there's any like leaked white here, then you can just like remove that. It looks like it's grouped here, so I'm gonna go Control-Shift-G. And get rid of that. Okay, that looks really good now. We've created space, some empty negative space here, so it looks like our stroke is going in front of the O and around it. It's going to like curve around the back with that size change at the end. Let's make sure the spacing here is good, so we're going to lower the T a little bit more, so there's like a little bit of equal space going on. We'll lower the wings. No, we can't lower the wings. Lower this a little bit more. There we go. That looks really good. So to finish this off, we're going to change our wing and worldwide to an outline. Before I do that, let me explain what I want to do with the wing. With wing, I want to make an arc curved at the top here. So there are two ways you can do that. When it's still a type object, when you can still edit the font and stuff, you can select it and click this envelope button at the top. You can select here which style you want. You can have it as an arc upper, an arc lower, flag, but I want an arc. And I can do it this way, or I can change it to create outlines here, create a vector outline, and I can go up to Effect, Warp, and Arc. You can do this for any object you want. I could do this for our set of wings here. I could do it for the entire logo if I wanted, anything. I'm going to set the bend to about 25%, hit OK, and when you do that, you leave behind like a little bit of a ghost here of the word. That doesn't look too good, and we won't be able to edit our wing if we ever need to. So I'm going to go up to Object, Expand Appearance. Now it's completely vectored and editable at this point. Okay, so we can lower that down. We can set our worldwide to create outlines. We're not going to do anything more with that word. And I want our two words here to measure up, not with the center of this entire middle word we have here, but I want to center up with the O to make it visually symmetrical. And since I can't do that, since like the wing and the P are kind of offsetting the balance of it a bit, we're going to take our ruler here and make a guide like right in the middle of the O. Let's click on it and make sure it's centered up with that top and bottom anchor. There we go. Now with that, we can take that. It looks like it's already centered up. Good. And let's center this up. And once we're done, we can get rid of the guy by just dragging it off. Okay, make sure your spacing is pretty good. You can hold Shift to bring things perfectly straight up and down if you need to. And that looks good. I think we're done. We just need to group it, but first let me change the colors of it. I want to get some good colors on this. I'm gonna select wing and worldwide by holding Shift while I drag over multiple things. I'm going to set these to a nice dark red. I'm going to also set this little stroke in the middle that we made to a dark red. And then we'll make the rest of it a nice blue color. Red and blue makes it for good airline colors, I think. And we're going to highlight everything, hit Control G to group it. And with that, we're done. We can align the whole thing to the artboard. And with that, your logo's finished. You can delete your sketch here if you need to, and it's done. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something. Leave a like if you really enjoyed it. Thank you.